The space outside was black and endless. Stars looked cold and far away. Captain Ryan Cole's small ship floated like a lonely insect in the dark. Inside the cockpit, Ryan stared at the blinking red signal on his screen. It was a distress call. Weak, broken, like someone had sent it from a dying place. He didn't know why, but something in his chest told him he could not ignore it. The signal came from an old mining station on the edge of nowhere. That place had been closed for years. Everyone said it was empty. Everyone said it was dangerous. But Ryan had never listened to warnings before. He set a course and pushed the engines. The hum of the ship filled the silence. When Ryan landed, the station looked like a dead giant in the dark. Its metal walls were covered in burn marks. Some windows were broken. No lights. No movement. As he stepped inside, his boots made soft echoes on the floor. The air was cold and smelled of rust and something else. Something burnt. Lights flickered weakly, one by one, as if the station had been sleeping for a long time. The place was empty, or so it seemed. He moved down a long hallway. The walls were covered in strange scratches. Symbols, maybe. A touched one. It felt warm, almost alive. Then he heard it. A sound so soft he almost thought it was in his head. Crying, ah. Small, broken sound. He froze. His eyes scanned the dark. The sound was coming from somewhere below. Ryan followed the sound through twisting corridors, down a broken stairwell, into the lower levels. The deeper he went, the darker it became. The air here was heavy. The crying grew louder. He reached a thick metal door. Faded letters were painted on it, but they were not human letters. Above the alien script, in messy English, was one word. Leave. Ryan's heart pounded. He didn't leave. He forced the door open with a hard push. It groaned like it hadn't moved in years. Inside the room, the light was dim and green. In the middle of the room was a cage. Inside the cage was a girl. She was small and thin, with skin so pale it looked like moonlight. Her hair was white and tangled. A torn blanket covered her shoulders, but not enough to hide the bruises on her arms. She sat in the corner of the cage, knees pulled to her chest, tears running down her face. When she saw Ryan, her eyes widened. Bright silver eyes, almost glowing in the dark. She didn't speak at first, just stared, breathing fast, like she didn't know if he was real. Ryan stepped closer. Hey, are you hurt? She flinched, pressing herself against the back of the cage. Her lips moved slowly. The words were broken, strange, but still human. Human. Please. Her voice was weak, shaking. Ryan looked at the lock. It wasn't normal. Not like any human lock he had seen. The metal seemed to shift, like it was alive. He knelt down. I'll get you out. Before he could do anything, the station's lights flickered. Then they went out completely. Everything went black. Somewhere in the dark. A deep, metallic roar echoed through the halls. It didn't sound human. It didn't sound friendly. Ryan's hand went to the sidearm on his belt. He could hear heavy footsteps. Now, slow. Getting closer, a faint red emergency light came on. The girl was still watching him, but now her eyes were full of fear. They come, she whispered. Ryan didn't ask who. He knew. The footsteps stopped outside the door. The air grew hotter. Ryan held his breath. The door slid open, and in the doorway stood a massive figure, its head almost touching the ceiling. Its skin was dark metal, shaped like armor. Its eyes burned with blue light. It scanned the room. Ryan stayed low, hidden behind a piece of broken machinery. The creature looked at the girl in the cage. She lowered her head, silent, after a long moment. The creature turned and left, its heavy steps fading down the hallway. Ryan exhaled slowly. He moved to the cage again. pulling a plasma cutter from his belt. The girl's eyes followed his hands. "You must hurry," she whispered. Ryan pressed the cutter to the strange lock. Sparks flew. The metal hissed, almost as if it was alive and in pain. The lock broke with a sharp crack. The girl stepped out, her legs shaking. Then the alarms began. Harsh, loud sirens. Red lights flashing across the walls. Mechanical voice shouted in multiple languages. "Containment breach! Containment breach!" Ryan grabbed her arm gently. "We have to move, now." They ran into the hallway, somewhere far away, that deep. Roar came again, but this time it was answered by another, and another. The station was waking up, and they were no longer alone. The hallway shook under their feet as the alarms screamed. Red lights flashed on and off, making the shadows move like living things. Ryan pulled the girl forward. Her legs were weak, but she tried to keep up. Her bare feet slapped against the cold metal floor. Somewhere behind them, doors were opening, heavy, grinding sounds. Like the jaws of giant machines unlocking, the girl's breathing was sharp and quick. "Not safe." "They come now," she whispered. Ryan glanced back. Who? Her silver eyes looked up at him. Hunters. Before he could ask more, the walls shook again. From far away came that same metallic roar, but now it was joined by a strange clicking sound, like claws on metal. They turned into another corridor. It was darker here, the lights broken. Ryan spotted a service hatch in the wall. He yanked it open and pulled the girl inside. The tunnel was narrow, barely enough space for him to crawl. The girl went first, moving like a shadow. Ryan followed, his plasma cutter in one hand, the other steadying himself on the cold walls. The sound of the alarms was muffled now, but he could still hear something moving in the main hallway, slow, deliberate steps. After a few minutes, the tunnel opened into a small storage room. There were old crates, most of them broken, and the air smelled of oil. The girl sank down against the wall, hugging her knees. Ryan crouched in front of her. "What's your name?" For a long moment, she didn't answer. Then, in a soft voice, "Arya, Arya," Ryan repeated. "Who locked you in that cage?" She looked at the floor. "Not people. Not my kind. The station. It chooses." Ryan frowned. The station, her eyes met his. It's alive. It wants to feed. Before Ryan could process her words, a sudden crash shook the walls. Something heavy had entered the storage room next door. Arya's eyes widened. "They found us." Ryan pulled her to her feet. "Come on." They moved toward the far door, but it was locked. A circular metal plate with strange symbols carved into it. Ryan cursed under his breath and pressed the plasma cutter to the lock. It hissed and sparked, but the door didn't open. The crash came again, louder now. Dust fell from the ceiling. Arya stepped forward. She pressed her hand against the symbols, and they began to glow faint blue. The door slid open with a hiss. Ryan stared at her. "You can open these?" She nodded weakly. "It listens to me, but not for long." They slipped through the door into another corridor, this one wider, lit with a sickly green light. The air was damp, and the walls pulsed faintly, like a slow heartbeat. Ryan felt something cold in his gut. Arya whispered, "We must go up. The lower levels, they hunt there." They hurried toward the lift at the end of the hall, but before they could reach it, a shadow moved across the ceiling. Ryan stopped. Something was crawling above them, long limbs, sharp claws digging into the metal. Its eyes glowed in the dark, unblinking. The creature dropped down with a metallic scream. It was fast, too fast. Ryan pushed Arya behind him and fired his cutter. A stream of white-hot light cut into the creature's chest. It shrieked, twisting. Away smoke rising from the wound, but it didn't die. It lunged again, knocking Ryan to the ground. The cutter skidded across the floor. The creature's weight crushed the air from his lungs. Its breath was hot and foul. Its teeth were long, metal and bone fused together. Ryan reached for anything. His hand found a broken metal pipe. T drove it into the creature's neck. It screamed and jumped back, giving Ryan a chance to grab the cutter. One quick slash, and its head rolled away. Sparks flying from the stump. Ryan pulled Arya toward the lift. His hand shook, but there was no time to rest. They stepped inside and hit the control. The doors began to close, but just before they shut, Ryan saw more shapes moving in the green light of the hallway. To many, the lift shook as it moved. Upward, Arya's breathing was ragged. She leaned against the wall, staring at him. "You should not have come," she said softly. "They will never let you leave." Ryan looked at her. "Then we'll make them." The lift stopped with a sudden jolt. The lights went out. Ryan's stomach dropped. The doors opened slowly. But it wasn't the floor they expected. It was another dark corridor. The walls here were different, smoother, wet-looking, almost like skin. Arya stepped forward, her voice low. "We are in it now." "In what?" Ryan asked. Her silver eyes glowed faintly. "The heart." From the darkness ahead came a deep, slow thump, like a heartbeat. And somewhere in that blackness, something began to move toward them. The sound came first, a slow, heavy thump, like a giant drum deep inside the walls. Ryan felt it in his chest. Arya stood still, eyes wide, listening. "It knows we are here," she whispered. The corridor ahead stretched into black. The walls were wet, pulsing faintly with that strange heartbeat. The air was thick, hard to breathe, like it was alive and watching. Then, a low growl echoed from the dark. Ryan tightened his grip on the plasma cutter. "Move. Now." They stepped forward, the floor soft under their boots, not metal anymore, but something that felt almost like muscle. A shadow slid across the wall. Another followed. The growl grew louder, joined by a strange clicking sound. It came from all directions. Ryan pulled Arya's arm. "Run." They ran, their footsteps splashing against the damp floor. The green emergency lights flickered above them, sometimes dying completely for long moments. In those moments, Ryan could hear them, the hunters, a flash of movement. A long arm with hooked claws swiped from the darkness, missing Arya by inches. She cried out, stumbling. Ryan caught her and pulled her forward. The corridor split ahead. One path went up. One went down. Arya pointed to the upward ramp. "That way." They sprinted up the incline, but halfway, a massive shape dropped from the ceiling, blocking the path. Its body was armored, its head too wide for its neck. Two glowing blue eyes locked on Ryan. Ryan didn't think he fired the cutter. The beam hit the creature's chest, burning deep, but it didn't stop. It roared and charged. Ryan grabbed Arya and leaped down a side shaft. They slid, falling into a narrow maintenance tunnel. The tunnel was dark and dripping. Ryan's shoulders brushed the walls as they moved. The sound of the hunters echoed above. Arya whispered, "They know these passages. They will come." Ryan scanned ahead. The tunnel opened into a wide chamber filled with strange machinery. The machines pulsed with the same heartbeat rhythm as they crossed the chamber. A thin figure stepped out from behind one of the machines. It wasn't armored like the hunters. It was tall and lean, with skin stretched tight over bone and long fingers ending in blades. It tilted its head slowly, staring at Ryan. Then at Arya. Arya stiffened. "It's a warden," she whispered. The warden spoke in a language Ryan didn't understand, clicking and hissing like metal scraping metal. Arya replied in the same tongue, her voice shaking. Ryan asked, "What is it saying?" She didn't answer. Instead, she grabbed his hand and pulled him toward another exit. The warden didn't chase. It just watched them go, its eyes glowing with something like curiosity. They emerged into a huge hall. This part of the station looked almost human-made. Wide metal floors, tall columns, rows of sealed doors. But the doors were shaking, like something inside them wanted to get out. Ryan kept his eyes forward. "What's behind those?" Arya said nothing. At the far end of the hall was a docking bay. Ryan's heart leaped. Maybe another ship was here. But when they reached it, the bay was empty. Except for smoking wreckage. Ryan's face tightened. "They destroyed my ship." Arya's voice was soft. "They don't let prey escape." Suddenly, a loud hiss echoed behind them. One of the bay doors was sliding open. Through it stepped 3 hunters, their armor black and wet-looking, eyes burning blue. Ryan's pulse spiked. He turned, looking for cover. There was none. The hunters spread out, moving slowly. Ryan aimed his cutter. "Stay behind me." The hunters charged. Ryan fired, hitting the first in the leg. It stumbled but didn't fall. The second leaped at him, claws slashing. Ryan ducked and fired point-blank into its chest. The heat burned his face, the smell of scorched flesh filling the air. The third hunter lunged toward Arya. She raised her hand, and a sudden wave of blue light burst from her palm, slamming into the creature. It flew backward, crashing into the wall. Ryan stared at her. What was that? Her breathing was hard. "You don't want to know." More roars echoed from the hall. Too many. Ryan spotted a service lift at the side of the bay. Come on. Kay ran for it. The hunters close. Behind, the lift doors closed just as claws scraped against them. The lift shook as it rose. Ryan leaned against the wall, catching his breath. Arya was silent, her eyes distant. Finally, she spoke. "They will keep hunting us. The only safe place is the core." Ryan frowned. "And what's in the core?" She met his eyes. "The truth. And maybe the end." Before Ryan could respond, the lift stopped again. The doors opened to a massive chamber, glowing with red light dot. In the center was something alive, a huge, beating mass connected to hundreds of black cables. The station's heart, and standing in front of it, was the warden. The chamber was huge, glowing in deep red light. Cables as thick as tree trunks ran into the walls, pulsing with the rhythm of a slow, heavy heartbeat. In the center, a massive heart-shaped mass beat inside a cage of bone-like metal. It was alive. Ryan could feel it. Each thump was inside his chest, making his ribs vibrate. And in front of the heart stood the warden. The tall, thin creature turned toward them. Its eyes glowed faint gold now, not blue. It took one slow step forward, tilting its head like it was studying them. Arya didn't move. Her silver eyes stayed locked on the warden. Ryan gripped the plasma cutter. "What is this thing?" She whispered. "It is the first. The one who made the station what it is." The warden spoke, its voice a strange mix of clicking, hissing, and something almost like a whisper inside Ryan's mind. He flinched, shaking his head. "What the hell?" "It speaks to your thoughts," Arya said softly. "It doesn't need words." Ryan growled. "Tell it to step aside." Arya didn't answer. Instead, she stepped forward slowly, her bare feet leaving small wet prints on the floor. The warden tilted its head lower to meet her eyes. Ryan could see their lips moving silent to his ears, but he could feel the words buzzing in his skull. His fists clenched. "What's going on, Arya? Talk to me." She turned her head slightly, her voice quiet. "It says you are not supposed to be here. It says you are not chosen." Ryan frowned. Chosen for what? Her gaze lowered. To be kept. That sent a cold wave through his spine. You mean prisoner? Arya didn't answer. The warden stepped aside, revealing more of the heart. The thing pulsed harder, as if sensing them. Arya said, "This is the station's core. It is alive. It feeds on life, thoughts, energy, memories. It takes prisoners to keep itself alive." Ryan stared at the cables running into the walls. This thing, it's killing people. She nodded. It doesn't see it that way. To it, we are part of the machine. Ryan's mind raced. Then why did you call me here? Why send that distress signal? Her silver eyes met his. Because I needed you. For what? He asked sharply. Her voice shook. To end it, the warden hissed, and suddenly the room's walls began to close in. The bone metal cage around the heart shifted, exposing more of its flesh. Ryan took a step back, cutter ready. What's happening? Arya whispered. It wants to show you. The lights went out. Ryan's vision blurred, and for a moment he wasn't in the chamber anymore. He saw flashes, cages filled with prisoners, human and alien. Machines draining something invisible from them. Their eyes hollow, their bodies limp. He saw hunters dragging screaming prisoners through dark halls. And then he saw himself, lying in a cage. Eyes empty, Ryan gasped, pulling himself out of the vision. His hands were shaking. What the hell was that? Arya's voice was calm. The truth. Ryan stepped closer to her. No. Tell me everything. Her eyes seemed almost to glow brighter. I was not born. I was made, grown inside this station. My body is mine, but my mind belongs to it. I am part of it. That is why I can open its doors. That is why I can feel it thinking. Ryan's chest tightened. So you're connected to this thing? Yes, she whispered. I am its child and its prisoner. He stared at her, anger and pity mixing in his eyes. Then why are you helping me? Her lips trembled. Because I don't want to be it anymore. I want to be me. The warden stepped forward again, moving like a shadow. Its voice returned in Ryan's head, sharp and cold. Leave. Ryan winced, holding his head. Arya said, it's warning you. If you stay, you will not leave alive. Ryan's jaw tightened. If I go, you stay here. That's not an option. The heartbeat in the room grew louder, faster. The red glow pulsed harder, casting long, twisting shadows. From above, the sound of hunters echoed claws on metal, getting closer. Arya's voice was urgent now. Ryan, if you want to save anyone, we have to go deeper. There is a place. Below the core, the control nest. That is where we can shut it down. Ryan nodded once. Lead the way. The warden didn't move to stop them. But as they passed, its golden eyes stayed locked on Ryan, unblinking. As if it was memorizing him, they slipped into a narrow passage behind the core. The air here was hot, damp, and heavy. The walls twitched like muscle with each beat of the mute. With a squeak of the heart, Ryan asked if this thing is alive. What happens if we kill it? Arya's answer was quiet. Then everything inside will die with it. That hit him like a punch. Everyone. Even the prisoners. She nodded slowly. Yes, that's the choice. Ryan stared at her, his voice low. And you already made your choice, didn't you? Her silver eyes glistened. I would rather see it end than live one more day as part of it. The passage sloped downward, the heartbeat growing louder, far ahead. A glow appeared, not red this time, but blue dot. Arya whispered, we're close. Ryan tightened his grip on the cutter. Then let's finish this. But neither of them saw the shadow. Following them, moving silently along the walls. The passage sloped deeper and deeper, twisting like a throat. The walls glistened with moisture, warm under Ryan's fingertips. They moved with a faint pulse, as if the station itself was breathing. Arya walked ahead, silent, her silver eyes fixed on the faint blue glow in the distance. The deeper they went, the stranger the air became heavy, damp, almost sweet, like rotting flowers. Every breath tasted wrong. Ryan glanced at the walls. "This doesn't feel like metal anymore." "It isn't," Arya said quietly. "You are inside its body now." Ryan stopped for a moment. "Its body." "You mean yes?" she said, still moving forward. "The station is not a machine. It is a creature. The metal is just its shell. Inside, it grows." They entered a vast, round chamber. The floor was soft and uneven, covered in thick strands that looked like black veins. In the center of the room, pools of glowing liquid bubbled and hissed. The blue light came from here, casting strange shadows on the walls. The heartbeat was louder here. Every thump made ripples in the pools. Ryan stepped closer to one of the pools, leaning over. Inside, shapes floated. At first, he thought they were pieces of scrap metal. Until one turned, it was a face, pale still, eyes closed. Ryan's stomach twisted. "Are those people?" "Yes," Arya said softly. "The ones it has drained. Their bodies are kept here, for later." He stepped back quickly. "This thing is worse than anything I've ever seen." Arya didn't argue. She only pointed to another tunnel on the far side of the chamber. "The control nest is that way." They started across the soft floor, but the black veins twitched. Under Ryan's boots, suddenly one wrapped around his ankle. Ryan cursed, pulling at it, but the vein tightened like a snake. Another whipped up from the floor, wrapping around his arm. Arya rushed forward, her hand glowing faint blue. She touched the veins and they hissed, releasing Ryan instantly. "They know you now," she warned. "They will not let you pass again." So easily, they moved faster into the next tunnel. Here, the walls narrowed and a faint vibration ran through the floor, a constant hum, like distant machinery. But Ryan realized it wasn't machinery. It was a voice, a deep, wordless voice, speaking without sound, pressing against his mind. He stopped, holding his head. "You hear that?" Arya didn't look at him. "It's talking to you." "What's it saying?" "It's asking why you fight it. Why you don't just give in." Ryan gritted his teeth. "Tell it to go to hell." The hum grew louder, becoming almost a growl. The walls pulsed harder, closing in slightly. Arya turned to him, her expression sharp. "If you fight too much, it will try to break you." Ryan's jaw tightened. "Then it better try harder." The tunnel opened into a long bridge. Beneath it was nothing, a deep black pit that swallowed the light. Far below, Ryan could hear faint movement, like something swimming. They started. Across halfway, the bridge shuddered from the pit. Something rose. At first, Ryan thought it was smoke, but then the shape solidified into a massive, serpent-like creature. Its body made of both flesh and metal, glowing blue eyes fixed on them. It opened its mouth, revealing spinning metal teeth. Ryan fired the plasma cutter. The beam hit its face, making it recoil with a screech. The serpent slammed into the bridge, sending Ryan and Arya to their knees. Cracks spread under them. "Run," Ryan shouted. They sprinted the rest of the way, leaping off the collapsing bridge. Just as the serpent lunged again, its head smashing into the edge, they tumbled into the next tunnel, gasping for breath. The serpent's screech echoed behind them, fading as the tunnel closed like a mouth. Ryan stood, helping Arya to her feet. "This control nest better be worth it." "It is," she said, Because it is the only place where the station is. Blind. They walked for several minutes until the tunnel ended at a sealed door. Strange. Spiraling symbols carved into it. Arya stepped forward, pressing her palm against the center. The symbols lit up, and the door slid open with a deep. His stop beyond it was a small circular room. In the center stood a black column covered in glowing lines like veins of light. Around it were floating orbs, each showing images, prisoners in cages. Hunters patrolling, the serpent moving in the depths. This is it, Arya whispered. The control nest. Every part of the station can be reached from here. Ryan stepped forward. Then, let's shut it down. But before he could touch the column, the orbs flickered and one showed the warden. It was moving through the tunnels. Toward them. Arya's face went pale. It knows we're here. Ryan raised his cutter. Then let it come. The heartbeat of the station pounded faster, shaking the floor. The orbs shifted, showing hunters running in their direction. Arya turned to Ryan. Once we start, there will be no going back. Everything will fight us. Ryan's eyes hardened. Then, we fight everything. Outside the control nest, the sound of claws and heavy steps grew louder, and the door began to open. The control nest door slid open with a slow hiss. Cold air rushed in, carrying the smell of burnt metal. In the doorway stood the warden. Its golden eyes locked on Ryan, unblinking. Behind it, shadows moved hunters, their blue eyes glowing in the dark like burning coals. The warden stepped inside. The hunters followed, spreading out around the room. The control nest was no longer a safe place. It had become a cage. Ryan's hand tightened on the plasma cutter. Guess the fight's here, he muttered. Arya's eyes were on the black column at the center of the room. If we destroy it, she said quickly, the core will feel it. The station will begin to die. Ryan smirked without humor. Then we better hurry. The first hunter leaped at him. Ryan sidestepped and slashed with the cutter, a bright beam cutting deep into its armor. It roared, sparks flying from the wound, but still came forward. He kicked it back, using the moment to grab one of the glowing orbs from the air. The orb cracked in his hand, releasing a shock of blue energy that blasted the hunter into the wall. Two more hunters came from the side. Ryan ducked under their claws, rolling toward the column. The warden moved to block him. Up close, Ryan could see its body wasn't solid. Its skin shifted like liquid metal, flowing over bones that didn't look human. It raised a long, blade-like arm and struck. Ryan blocked with the cutter, the two weapons clashing in a burst of heat and sparks. The warden pushed him back, its voice echoing inside his head. You? Leave. Ryan gritted his teeth. Not happening. Behind them, Arya placed both hands on the column. Her silver eyes glowed brighter, and the lines on the column began to pulse faster. The hunters screamed, as in pain, their bodies twitching. Ryan looked back at her. What are you doing? Breaking its mind, she said through clenched teeth. The warden's golden eyes flared. And suddenly, the floor shifted under Ryan's boots. The soft, flesh-like surface hardened into sharp spikes, forcing him to move or be skewered. A spike grazed his leg, slicing through his pants. He grunted, stumbling but staying on his feet. The hunters lunged again. Ryan swung the cutter in a wide arc, hitting both at once. Their armor cracked, blue light spilling from the wounds. The warden hissed, leaping high, its shadow falling. Over Ryan, before it could land, Arya screamed, and a shockwave burst from her body. The warden was thrown back, slamming into the wall hard enough to leave a dent. Ryan stared at her. You could do that the whole time. Her voice shook. It burns me when I do. I can't. Not for long. The control nest lights began to flicker. The orbs shattered one by one. Ryan realized the heartbeat of the station was faster now, pounding, frantic. Arya gasped. It knows it's dying. It will send everything. As if on cue, the wall behind them split open and more hunters poured. In there were too many now, their claws scraping, their teeth snapping. Ryan fired into the crowd, cutting one down, then another. But for every one that fell, two more appeared. The warden recovered, moving like liquid, dodging each of Ryan's swings. It grabbed him by the throat, lifting him off the ground. Ryan gasped for air, kicking at its chest. Arya shouted, "Ryan!" She pressed her hands deeper into the column, her eyes blazing with silver light. The station screamed, not in their ears, but inside their skulls. The sound was so loud it made Ryan's vision blur. The warden released him, clutching its head as if in agony. Ryan hit the ground, coughing. He looked up at Arya, her body shaking, her skin glowing faintly as if the station's energy was flowing through her. "You have to finish it," she cried. He ran toward the column, plasma cutter raised. The warden staggered forward to stop him, but Arya threw herself in front of it, holding it back with both glowing hands. "Do it," she screamed. Ryan slammed the cutter into the side of the column. The black surface cracked, spilling thick. Glowing blue liquid the moment the beam cut through the core of the column. The heartbeat stopped for 1 second. Then it came back. Faster, louder, but weaker. The hunters froze, their movements jerky, like puppets with tangled strings. The warden let out a horrible metallic scream. Knocking Arya aside and rushing toward, Ryan turned just in time, swinging the cutter again. The beam cutting deep into the warden's side. It fell to one knee, but its golden eyes never left him. Arya struggled to her feet. Her voice was weak, almost breaking. "It's not enough. We have to kill the core." Ryan looked toward the far wall and saw a tunnel leading deeper down. Glowing red. The way to the heart. Behind them, the hunters began to move again. The warden rose slowly, its wounds already knitting together. Ryan grabbed Arya's arm. "Then we run." Now, they dashed into the tunnel, the sound of claws and screams chasing them. The station itself seemed to be closing in, walls shifting, floor twisting, lights dying one by one. Ahead, the glow of the core was growing stronger, and the hunt was not over. The tunnel narrowed as Ryan and Arya ran, the walls shifting like muscle around them. The red glow ahead pulsed faster with each step, keeping time with the pounding in Ryan's chest. The air grew hotter, thicker, until every breath felt like inhaling fire. Behind them, the sound of claws scraped the floor. The hunters were coming fast. They burst into a massive chamber. The core was here. It was huge, a living, beating mass, hanging from the ceiling by black veins as thick as tree trunks. Each beat shook the floor. The glow inside it was red and alive, almost like a giant eye that had opened just for them. Ryan stopped, staring. "That's it." Arya's voice was quiet, almost reverent. "That is me." Ryan turned sharply. "What?" She stepped forward slowly, her bare feet leaving prints in the damp floor. "I told you, I was made here. This body is mine, but my mind is bound to that." She pointed at the core. "It is me, and I am it." Ryan shook his head. "You're saying if I kill that thing, you kill me too," she finished. Softly, the hunters flooded into the room. Ryan raised the plasma cutter. But the warden stepped forward, motioning for them to stop. The golden-eyed creature looked at Arya, and its voice came into Ryan's head again. "She stays. You leave, Ryan." Ignored it. "Arya, we came here to destroy it. To stop this thing from taking more lives." Her silver eyes shimmered with tears. "I know. That's why I brought you here." Ryan's voice broke. "You knew this from the start. You plan to die. She smiled faintly. Better I die than this prison lives forever. The warden moved closer, its presence heavy and cold. Ryan's grip tightened on the cutter. His mind screamed at him. If he killed the core, she would be gone. If he didn't, the station would keep feeding, keep hunting, forever. Arya turned to him. There's no time. Do it, Ryan. The hunters hissed, their claws clicking on the floor, but they didn't move. Even they seemed to be waiting. Ryan stepped toward the core. The heat radiating from it was intense, making sweat run down his face. He raised the cutter, but hesitated, the memory of Arya's voice in the cage flashing through his mind. Her fear, her hope, her tears. The warden's voice struck his mind like a hammer. If you kill her, you become me. Ryan flinched. What does that mean? Arya's voice was urgent now. It's lying. Ryan, focus. The core pulsed harder, faster, as if it sensed its end was near. The walls around them trembled, and the hunters shifted restlessly. Ryan raised the cutter higher and stopped. Arya, he said quietly, there has to be another way. Her eyes softened. If there is, I never found it. She reached up, touching his hand, the one holding the cutter. Thank you for coming when no one else did. Ryan's jaw tightened. He took a step back, turning the cutter toward the hunters. I'm not killing her. Arya's eyes widened. Ryan, but before she could speak, the warden lunged. Ryan slashed at it, the cutter burning deep into its chest. The creature staggered, screeching, but didn't fall. The hunters rushed forward, and chaos filled the chamber. Ryan fought hard, cutting through one after another, but there were too many. He was knocked to the floor, claws tearing into his armor. Suddenly, a burst of silver light filled the room. Arya was glowing, her body blazing with the same energy as the core. The hunters froze, their bodies jerking like broken machines. She looked at Ryan, her voice steady now. Go. He shook his head. Not without you. Her smile was sad, but calm. You will live. And you will tell them what happened here, right before. Ryan could move. She placed both hands on the core. The red glow turned white. The chamber shook violently. The black veins snapped one by one, spraying blue liquid. The core's beats became wild and uneven. The hunters screamed, their bodies falling apart into ash. The warden staggered, its golden eyes flickering. Ryan crawled toward her, shouting her name, but the light was too bright to see. Then silence. The glow faded. The core hung lifeless, black and cold. Arya was gone. The station's walls groaned. Cracks split through the floor. Ryan knew it was dying. He ran, the corridors collapsing behind him, the air shaking with the station's final death throes. He reached the outer airlock, just as the walls caved in. A small emergency pod waited there, one last gift, maybe from her. Ryan jumped in and launched into the void, watching as the massive shape of the station folded in on itself, vanishing into a cloud of glowing dust on the silence of space. Ryan sat in the pod, staring out at the stars. The image of Arya's silver eyes stayed with him. She was gone. But so was the prison, and somewhere deep in his mind, he thought he heard her voice, soft, distant. Thank you, human. The screen faded to black.